RadioOrNot.com and SoFloRadio.com present The Nicole Sandler Show. Truth to power, baby.
Call out the instigators, because there's something in the air. We got to get together sooner or later, because the revolution's here, and you know it's right. We have got to get it together. We have got to get it together now.
Getting it together. Hey, we're broadcasting live. It is Wednesday, April 9th, 2014. The Nicole Sandler Show, live at the home of the Nicole Sandler Show, RadioOrNot.com, where you can watch the show for free and stream it live and participate in a fantastic chat room at RadioOrNot.com. We're also live on SoFloRadio.com, TalkRadio1.com. We're live on my website this morning, FilterFreeRadio.com. And thanks to good friend Kenny Pick, we're live on Liberal Justice Radio this morning. Also, it's just so good to be with you. And however you may be joining us, good to have you on board. Open mic for you today. Anything goes. Anything you want to talk about, callers go to the front of the line. My telephone number is 503-746-TALK. It's 503-746-TALK. You can also find all of the ways to get in contact with me at filterfreeradio.com. As you may know, my name is Jacob Dean. Hey, it's not Nicole Sandler. What's going on here? If you tuned in yesterday morning, you heard the unfortunate news that Nicole had a little fender bender. She is absolutely okay. I spoke with her. She said she is fine. No one was injured. No one was hurt. And that's the best news. The bad news is the car needs a little TLC. And so Nicole needs a morning off to get a few things going on that. And here we are. It's always a pleasure to be with you. It's always an honor to be in for Nicole Sandler at RadioOrNot.com. We host our program, Filter Free Radio, live on Monday evenings, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, on Nicole Sandler's network at RadioOrNot.com. So if you're ever looking for my show, you can find it right here at RadioOrNot.com, Monday evenings, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We archive all of our podcasts, every single show that we've ever done, every single interview that I've done with special guests, and every single protest that I've showed up to cover and participate in the movement to be the change. All of it is at our website, and it is all free for you to check out, filterfreeradio.com. Okay, sorry for the shameless plug, just in case someone's tuning in, never heard me before. There you go. Welcome. I am expecting a phone call from my super duper awesome mass producer and co-host, kick-ass all-around brother from another mother of Filter Free Radio, Mr. Skeptical Scott. Scott's not here yet, so I did tell him at the very end of our conversation last night, I said, Scott, and I always appreciate you being with me, brother. I know that we don't get paid to do this show, and you showing up, it always means so much to me. And if you want to sleep in tomorrow morning, that's fine. I shouldn't have said that. So, I don't know. Hopefully, Scott will be joining us again. We do have a comment line that you can participate with the show, and we've got it open. And if you want to call in, callers go to the front of the line today. I don't know how often you get a chance to participate live on the Nicole Sandler Show. I know we have the chat room and everything, but if you want to call into the show, please feel free. The phone number is 503-746-TALK. All the contact info should be scrolling across the top of the screen if you're watching us on Ustream. There is a lot to get into this morning, and a lot we're going to cover. I have been a very busy fellow over the last month, and one of the things that I did a couple of weeks ago was I'm here in Portland, Oregon, and I made the drive up to Seattle, Washington on March 26th to participate in a discussion panel for Progressive Radio Northwest. Their website is progressiveradionorthwest.org. there were three panelists. You may recognize the fine and fearlessly independent journalist Mark Taylor Canfield. Mark Taylor Canfield was the head of the panel discussion. I myself was there. And another online independent progressive radio host who I'd never heard of before, a guy by the name of Space Dog, and his website is spacedogradio.com. We were the three panelists at this discussion. We were talking about everything from the future of independent media, the future of progressive media, and social networking. We had a lot of conversation, and a lot of folks showed up. It was an open, free, public forum, and we had, at least a dozen or more folks show up to the event. And I've got all of the links and everything at our website at filterfreeradio.com if you want to check it out. I want to play a couple of clips from that conversation in the second hour of the show. Actually, I want to play some audience member questions to the panel. We took questions from the audience, and I want to play some of those clips for you in the second hour. It's a very important conversation because here we are doing independent progressive media online, and this is what we're talking about. I have some very important ideas I want to share with you about how that's going to go in the future. So, and the premise of the conversation, of course, up in Seattle, as you may know, no more AM 1090 KPTK, no more big progressive talk radio in Seattle. Yes, there's KCBS, and yes, you have KEXP, but, they are somewhat limited on their terrestrial radio signal reach because of what comes with doing nonprofit community radio independent, alternative progressive media. And when the Clear Channel stations that are Bain Capital financed, Clear Channel owned progressive radio stations in Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, when they start getting wiped out, you start to realize, wait a minute, it's not just a conspiracy. When they take out KPTK, KPOJ, Green 960, and of course, for some of you, this is old news, right? Of course, the corporate media is not going to sustain anything that could work against its own best interest. Why would the corporate state sustain and promote and air on their radio stations stuff that is actually working against them, to overthrow the corporate state? Yes, I said overthrow. We'll play some Chris Hedges clips. That's where that comes from. We'll get to that as well. I always have Chris Hedges to share with you, right? So he's like my favorite. So I want to get into all of that. I want to get into that conversation in the second hour of the program, the Progressive Radio Northwest. And really, what is most important about this was I want to share some clips, like I said, of the audience, of you, of the listeners who showed up at this event to tell us, where you stand. And to me, that is very important. It means a lot to hear the listener feedback so we can understand where we're both coming from. We can get on the same page. We can, as the host that you're coming to, can address your needs, what you want to hear more of, and we can address the issues of how do we move forward into the future with progressive media. My answer is it's not going to be sustained by big corporate backers on commercial radio. It's just not going to happen. Do you see Walmart or BP or GE lining up to advertise on the Nicole Sandler Show? No. And there is a reason, okay? They're lining up to advertise on, the paid shills who are willing to tout their talking points and not challenge them and just take the money and run, and life is good in the Cayman Islands, right, Rush? Just saying. I'm just saying. So, and that comes back to we have to seek the independent alternatives that we can trust. More listeners, more voters. You and I are turning to independent media that we can trust. This is why we're here at RadioNot.com. This is why you go to FilterFreeRadio.com. This is why you check out Liberal Justice Radio. You go to independent sources that are not paid. We're not doing this to make money. Clearly, we don't make any money. Nicole Sandler needs your help. She needs you to kick in a couple of bucks so we can get a new Ustream, we can get a new computer, she can get Radio or Not kick in and roll in, and we can't do it without you, right? Because we don't have Walmart to back us up, right? Because why would Walmart come advertise on a show that's talking about the dangers and, the problems of globalism and capitalism and, the Bangladesh fires, right? They killed all those garment factory workers that were Walmart slaves making the clothes that you and I wear, not made in America. Yeah, I'm a hypocrite too. We all are. So we have to participate more in the part of the solutions rather than participating in the problems. So there you go. There is news. What? There's news to talk about? You got to be kidding. Hopefully, we are going to touch base with the Talk Radio News Service, talkradionews.com in Washington, D.C. in about an hour from now at the top of the next hour, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time, to get all of the news that's happening, get the latest on what is going on in the world. And like I said, if you're just joining us, it's anything goes. We got a telephone number to call in, and would love to hear from you and anything that you want to talk about. I find this really interesting. Is there a Blackwater connection to what's going on in the Ukraine right now? Well, this new report coming out from the New York Times and the Talk Radio News Service from Victoria Jones, I've got my hands on here. You can find the website at talkradionews.com. This report saying the Russian Foreign Ministry has issued this statement in response to Ukraine's use of Interior Ministry troops expelling pro-Russian demonstrators from a government building. Moscow is accusing Kyiv of embedding nationalist militants from the group Right Sector, as well as private American mercenaries from a company called Greystone in its forces in the East. No U.S. military boots on the ground. We have remote control killer flying spacecraft drones now. Surely these are not contractors. A Russian statement said that the American contractors are being disguised as members of a Ukrainian military unit called Falcon. And again, this is secondhand news. I'm not disclosing anything, right? So don't come after me. NSA, thanks for listening, by the way. A private, and this is the kicker, a private American security company affiliated with Greystone was once known as Blackwater, Eric Prince, which became notorious for its military contracting work in Iraq. Remember when employees killed 17 civilians? Remember that? Whatever happened to that? Swept that under the rug. Pay no attention. They said in March that employees are not working in Ukraine. No, we're not there. Of course not. Why would we tell you that if we were? I'm just saying the military-industrial complex goes on. You know what? That's what I'm saying. So there you go. Also, President Obama is going to be giving remarks today at this afternoon at the memorial service for the Fort Hood military families and the base, where, of course, we have this new Fort Hood shooting 5 years after the deadliest attack on a U.S. base, and of course 3 soldiers were killed, 16 others are wounded, some of them very critically wounded, and this has been big news. You saw White House spokesman Jay Carney come out yesterday and say, President Obama is not going to be focusing on gun control when we talk about the Fort Hood shooting. No need to talk about gun control, right? I think the quote was, I have the quote right here, quote, "Views on the need to take common sense steps that address the challenge and problem of gun violence," end quote, have not changed, and he was still disappointed Congress hadn't moved on the gun control legislation. I get that. My point is, I don't think President Obama is going to comment this afternoon on things like the military-industrial complex, the need for perpetual war for war profiteers, the effects of legalized mass murder, which is war, and the PTSD that comes with that. Because, hey, if you make money off war, then it's all good, right? Military-industrial complex, right? Good stuff. There was a fantastic conversation with Chris Hedges titled Our Only Hope Comes Through Rebellion. It was actually our show that we did on Monday on Filter Free Radio. And Chris Hedges, in 45 minutes, it's a great speech. We've got a link to it up on our Facebook, and we got to put it up on our website, which we haven't done yet. It's a great speech. And Chris Hedges lays out essentially the beginnings, the origins, the inception of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, President Truman's creation of the NSA, and essentially how, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA really destroyed all radical progressive movements in the 20th century. And here we are today with the death of the liberal class, the empire of illusion, and we're trying to fight the corporate state. Hey, some people have been trying to fight the corporate state for a long time. Matter of fact, some people have been trying. You young whippersnappers, here's a moment of disclosure. I'm 25 years old, and I clearly do not have all the answers. I don't pretend to have all of the answers. I know I don't have all the answers. Anyone who knows anything knows they know nothing, right? And I'll tell you, I'm just trying to ask the right questions. Matter of fact, I turned 26 on Friday. It's my birthday on April 11th. Woo, party time. Anyways, some people have been fighting these things for a long time, a lot longer than I've been around. The corporate state, campaign finance. We have the most recent decision handed down to us from the absolutely disgusting, corrupted Supreme Court. I think it's pretty fair to say that the Roberts Court is absolutely corrupt. And I've got a couple of clips I want to share with you before we run to our first break of the show from 106 years ago. This audio is literally 106 years old. We're talking like recorded on that wax cylinder Thomas Edison style. You know what I'm saying? This is from archive.org. You can go grab this audio. It's in there. It's from 1908. William Jennings Bryan. On the campaign trail, your socialist progressive candidate for president. It's like as if in today's world, Bernie Sanders was running for president on the campaign trail, right? This is what William Jennings Bryan had to say in 1908 on the campaign trail. Now, granted, this is a man running for president speaking at a, campaign function. And he's talking about campaign finance reform in 1908, 106 years ago. And he's not just talking about campaign finance reform. He's talking about the dangers of allowing favor-seeking corporations to control the election process. And he says it, literally. That's a quote in the second or third clip I'm about to share with you. Favor-seeking corporations. And we've been talking about this. He's been talking about this now for 106 years, right? Where was the Supreme Court on this one? Right? Okay, so I want to share this audio with you. Now, again, I understand that this is going to be a little hard to decipher, and you can, again, find this audio, archive.org. Just type in William Jennings Bryan, 1908, campaign finance reform, audio. It's out there, and this is where I found it. I've played this audio as the producer of the Thom Hartmann program a few times on Thom Hartmann's program as well when this came up. And this is such an important issue because they have opened the floodgates of money into politics. And you have to ask yourself, if free speech is free, why does it cost money? If free speech is free, why do those with more money get more free speech? Well, why is there a need for secrecy in the election process? Why is there a need for billionaires to be able to remain anonymous when they pay off their paid shills? Why is that? And why are the people in cahoots with them trying to protect the status quo? And if we speak out against it, any of us dare challenge it, right? How come I've never heard of this guy before on Filter Free Radio? How come his show's not anywhere? We're on We Act Radio now, 1480 AM, Washington, D.C. Someone's playing us. Someone's listening, besides the NSA. Hey, everyone in the chat room. 27 people at RadioOrNot.com right now. Love you guys. William Jennings Bryan, 1908. Here you go. This is 106 years old. Clip 1. Pay very close attention to what he's talking about here. 106 years ago.
An election is a public affair. It is held for the benefit of the public and is the means through which the people select their officials and give directions as to the policies to be adopted. There is no sound reason for secrecy in regard to campaign methods, and publicity will in itself prove a purifying influence in politics.
There is no sound reason for secrecy in the political process, or words to that effect, right? Yeah, I'm with you. Why do people seek darkness rather than light? It's pretty obvious. Their deeds are evil. If they were doing the right thing, there would be no need for secrecy. If they were doing the right thing, there would be no need for, remaining anonymous. I'm just saying. Here's clip 2. This is good stuff. William Jennings Bryan, the socialist progressive candidate for president, ran for president at least 2 or 3 times, never was elected, too far left. 1908, 106 years ago, campaign finance reform and the dangers of favor-seeking corporations with all the money being able to buy off the entire political system. Here you go, Supreme Court. Are you listening?
The necessity for publicity has increased with the growth of favor-seeking corporations. These combinations of capital have gradually extended their power over the government through contributions to the campaign funds, and the officials elected by them have in return for contributions sold immunity to offenders.
Yeah, right. But wait, there's more. It only gets better. I love, by the way, someone asked in the chat room, is there an old-fashioned snail mail way to help support Nicole Sandler and Radio or Not, RadioOrNot.com? Yes, there is. And Snork Y2K, the man, posted all of that information right now in the chat room. So if you're looking for a way to send, $5 to Nicole to help her out, which we need at RadioOrNot.com, all the info is in the chat room right now at RadioOrNot.com, and maybe we can repost that sometime in the second hour just for folks. Thank you, Snork. Best chat room ever. Love you guys. Okay, clip 3. Again, I just got to share this with you because of the Supreme Court decision that came down last week, opening the floodgates of money into politics. And here is a progressive socialist candidate for president 106 years ago saying, guys, I think we have a problem here. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? The solution, by the way, is people in the streets showing up nonviolently, demonstrating, protesting. When the people lead, the leaders will follow. That is the answer. Whatever your cause is, man, I don't care. The beauty of being unique is we all have different passions. Some of us are passionate about the environment. Go protest Keystone Pipeline. Some of us are passionate about marriage equality. Go out there and protest and make your demands needed and met. Okay? Everything that we take for granted, minimum wage, 40-hour work week, everything that is for our own best interest. We didn't just, poof, the fairy civil rights, equal rights godmother just came out of nowhere and said, you have a living wage. You get weekends off. You kids under 16 don't have to work. No, it didn't work like that. The people showed up and demanded what they wanted, what they needed. I'm pretty sure you need something right now. I need a lot of things right now. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm a big hypocrite on, I do a lot of talking behind the microphone. We need to get active. Do I show up I showed up 2 weeks ago in Seattle. I showed up last week in Portland at the Million Blanket March. A little bit. I showed up at the Wave of Action. waveofaction.org. Trying to participate and be more a part of the solution. Yes. So, anyways, back to William Jennings Bryan. I got a couple more short clips here to share with you. Again, a lot of people have never heard of this. Everyone's talking about the Supreme Court, campaign finance reform. You had, the New Hampshire Rebellion and Lawrence Lessig's walk across the state to try to address this. The Supreme Court said, it's all good. Give them as much money as you want. Billionaires can control the political process. Money is speech. Well, I'll tell you something. If money is speech, then we all need an equal say. So either you fix capitalism and you fix wealth inequality, and money is speech, or money is not speech. Your choice. So, back to William Jennings Bryan. This audio is from 1908, 106 years ago. You can find it at archive.org. William Jennings Bryan, progressive socialist candidate for president, campaign finance reform, on the campaign trail trying to become president, saying this.
Public opinion has at last compelled a reluctant Congress to prohibit contributions from corporations. But in many cases, individual stockholders in the big corporations have so large a personal interest that they can afford to subscribe the funds necessary for the purchase of an election.
Did you catch that? I really hope somebody picks this shit up and runs with it, because it's very important. Tom Hartman, Randy Rhodes, all the above. Anyone want to talk about this? William Jennings Bryan, 1908, 106 years ago. It's perfect for you. Campaign finance reform. Here's the last clip I got to share with you. This is kind of his point. Why is there a need for secrecy? Why do these people need to remain anonymous? Why do we have to be kept in the dark? Probably because their deeds are evil and they're not doing the right thing. William Jennings Bryan, 1908, 106 years ago.
For the people ought to know what influences are at work in the campaign, that they may better decide whether either party has so obligated itself to the great corporation as to make it impossible for it to protect the rights of the people.
Bingo.
Let there be light is the demand of the voters. If there are any who love darkness rather than light, it is because their deeds are evil.
Kind of spot on, isn't it? Kind of like perfect, right? And that was 106 years ago, right? I'm only 26. I'll be 26 on Friday, this Friday. What are we going to do, friends? Are we actually going to show up and be the change that we're looking for? Because we are the ones we're waiting for. And if we don't show up, we'll be waiting a long time. So, hey, and I'm with you in that boat, man. I am absolutely with you. I don't show up enough either. So maybe I can motivate you. Maybe you can motivate me. Maybe we can get together and say, you know what? We are mad as hell and we're not going to take this shit anymore, right? I'm with you. So let's run to a short break. Maybe I don't need more coffee, but we'll take a short break anyways here at the bottom of the hour. The Nicole Sandler Show continues. Your calls go to the front of the line, 503-746-TALK. It's 503-746-TALK. We'll continue the conversation next. Don't go anywhere.
The Nicole Sandler Show. Truth to power, baby.
Hi, friends. This is Tom Hartman.
This is Stephanie Miller.
Hey, this is Hal Sparks.
I'm Brad Friedman. I approve of Nicole Sandler's RadioOrNot.com.
Radio or Not.
Radio or Not.
RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com. RadioOrNot.com.
The dictionary defines a caterpillar as a, quote, worm-like larva and a crawler. Also, that pillar part of the word is derived from a French verb that means to pillage, abuse, mistreat. Now, meet Caterpillar Inc., the world's largest maker of construction and mining machines. A recent report by the Senate Subcommittee on Investigations found that this worm-like behemoth has crawled through a tax loophole to abuse our public trust. Caterpillar has quietly shifted some $8 billion in profits gained from selling parts on the global market into a Swiss subsidiary in order to avoid paying more than $2 billion in taxes owed to our country. Even though this subsidiary has only 65 employees and neither makes nor sells spare parts, Caterpillar made a slick accounting maneuver that channeled 85% of its international parts profits into what amounts to a tax shelter. Corporate officials tried to bluster their way through a subcommittee hearing, insisting that their offshoring of profits was merely meant to streamline the corporate flowchart. It was prudent, said Caterpillar's top financial officer, to eliminate the unnecessary middleman between the profits made on global sales and the paying of taxes on those profits. That's absolutely absurd, says Senator Carl Levin, the subcommittee chairman. He pointed out that the middleman she was referring to is Caterpillar itself. It designed, made, and sold the products, and the only reason it wormed its profits into a Swiss subsidiary was to cheat on the tax bill it legitimately owes in its home country. This is Jim Hightower saying, when you hear right-wingers say that America doesn't have the money for infrastructure repairs, poverty programs, etc., remember that U.S. corporate giants like Caterpillar have hidden some $2 trillion of their profits in slimy offshore wormholes.
To get more of Jim Hightower's populist take on what Wall Street and Washington are up to, visit www.hightowerlowdown.org.
Filter-free radio.
Filter-free radio.
Filter-free radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
Jacob Dean.
With Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
A sense of responsibility. I think that's one of the big things that separates the innocent child from the adult that knows better, is the sense of responsibility. And I know that none of us really like to take on more responsibility because most of us, we don't like to do anything. We like to sit on our ass and not be responsible for anything.
I don't like responsibility.
Exactly. But here's the problem. The people that are most responsible for beginning and really carrying through this revolution, the New Year's revolution, is you and me.
Filter-free radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
The ones who have more of a grasp of what's actually happening. And I hate to, give you some homework or more responsibilities, but I think more of the weight of the responsibility is on those of us who know better.
FilterFreeRadio.com.
You never know who or what you'll hear when you listen to The Nicole Sandler Show at RadioOrNot.com.
Greg Palast, I realized as we were talking that actually we were supposed to do this on Wednesday, so thank you so much for bearing with me.
Well, I am thrilled that we're doing that. You've jumped the other characters. Because, Nicole, I just think that your show is brilliant, and I want to thank you because my stuff may be prime time in Britain, but here I keep slamming into the electronic Berlin Wall, and you have snuck me across and into the information stream. And I hope that your listeners are aware of how important and precious your program is. So I want to thank you.
The Nicole Sandler Show, live Monday through Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, or podcast anytime at RadioOrNot.com.
Love me some blues rock guitar, man. Oh, that's a killer riff. Anyways, welcome back to the show, Nicole Sandler Show. We are live at RadioOrNot.com, SoFloRadio.com, TalkRadio1.com. We're live this morning on my website, FilterFreeRadio.com. And we're live at Liberal Justice Radio on the TuneIn app and TuneIn.com as well. So good to have you with us. My brother from another mother, my co-host, is not here. I guess he decided to sleep in this morning. Mr. Skeptical Scott, he's a hardworking guy, and of course we don't get paid to be here. It's a moral obligation, in my opinion, not necessarily a financial obligation, because clearly we're not making money here. Clearly Nicole Sandler isn't making money here. And let that be another call for the people who do realize how, like Greg Palast said in the promo. I love Greg Palast, by the way. Fantastic investigative journalist. That's why I run that one. But just like Greg said in the promo there, we played on the break, If you understand how important and how special and how crucially, needed this program is, then do anything you can to support it. I really hate to go into, fund driving mode, and I'm not going to do it for more than a minute, but I just, some people don't have $5 that they can kick to Nicole, and I understand that. I am in that category right now, still unemployed, don't have much money. I would love to buy a Radio or Not t-shirt so I can have some cool swag and support the show. If you don't have money to give, you can give your time. If you don't have any time to give some word of mouth. The next time you have a conversation with your neighbor or your friend or whatever, tell them, hey, have you ever heard of Nicole Sandler show? You should check it out, radioornot.com. She's live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern. You can podcast anytime for free. It's all free, radioornot.com. We know you probably don't have a couple of bucks to kick us. That's why everything is free. Same thing at my website, filterfreeradio.com. All free. Podcasts, free. Previous episodes, news, blogs, interviews, everything is free. iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, all of the above. It's all free. And my thing is the Jacob Dean 555 plan. I know you don't have money to give. And if you do, please consider giving Nicole $10 or whatever you can afford to give. $100. I know it's asking a lot. $100 could really make a difference in the broadcasting quality of this program. And the reality is we don't have that corporate state corporation to back us up. Because here we are saying, I think the corporations are part of the problem. So they're not lining up to advertise on the show. Therefore, as I said in my promo, we have a sense of responsibility, right? So I don't want to give you more homework, but tell 5 friends. Just tell 5 friends who've never heard of this show before or my show. I would be forever in debt to you. Tell 5 friends. See where that goes. Start there. You can give something. You do have something to give. You have a voice and you have a choice. So let's use it, right? All right. Skeptical Scott is not here. And so that means I've got 2 open lines. If anyone wants to participate in the conversation, anything you want to talk about, something happening in the news, something I'm not talking about, we want to talk about, by all means, call in. If there is something that I'm talking about that you want to talk about, by all means, call in. The telephone number, 503-746-TALK, 503-746-TALK, 503-746-8255. And if you're listening to us on a record, on a podcast, on a later date, you can call that telephone number anytime, 24/7. And there is a voice message answering machine that will take your messages. It's me. Hi, thank you for calling Filter Free Radio. Leave us your messages. Bye. Call anytime, 503-746-TALK, and tell me what you're thinking. All right. Other news. Hey, are you online? Of course you are. How else would you be listening to this show right now? You need to change your passwords. And this is a big deal. Like, I just saw this, and either today or tomorrow, I got to go through and change all of my passwords on all of the web services I use. And whatever you do, don't use password 12345. Okay? Well, I got the same combination on my luggage. Don't use the password. Don't use 12345 or 678 or ABC 123. And we have Heartbleed to thank. And this is a report that's not conspiracy theory. This comes to us from the AP and the New York Times and the Talk Radio News Service. There's an alarming lapse in internet security, and this has exposed millions of passwords, credit card numbers, and other sensitive information to potential thieves and computer hackers who have been secretly exploiting the problem, get this, for more than 2 years. Yeah, you heard that right. This has been going on for 2 years unnoticed. Maybe that's how all this identity theft is going on, right? Did you file your taxes late and come to find out someone had already tried to file your taxes and claim some kind of refund to their account? I personally know someone this year that had that happen to him. The breakdown revealed this week affects the encryption technology that's supposed to protect online accounts for emails, instant messaging, a wide range of electronic commerce. Security researchers who uncovered the threat known as Heartbleed are particularly worried about the breach because it has gone undetected for 2 years. More than 2 years. Changing your passwords won't do any good until the affected services install software released on Monday to fix the problem. So now you can change your passwords, hopefully. I think so. Because they were supposed to release that software 2 days ago to fix the problem. I'm assuming in good faith, taking them at their word, that it's done. You know what happens when you assume something. Yes, I know what happens when you assume something. And so that puts, on the internet services, it puts it on the internet services affected by Heartbleed to alert their users to the potential risks and let them know when they can change their passwords. Did you get any sort of notice or any sort of, note or email from these people, from these internet services, that you should change your passwords? I didn't. I didn't get a damn thing. So, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I do a lot of saying, by the way. I do a lot of talking. I will talk forever, if you let me. And right now, Nicole Sandler's doing it, so... Right on. Good for Nicole, right? I always appreciate it, man. It's such an honor, and it's such a privilege to be here. Like, when we do our show, I mean, and I get it that Monday nights is a hard time. Monday nights really doesn't work out for a lot of people, and I get that. It's a tough time. But when we do our show, we probably get maybe, on a good night, 5-10 people in the chat room. And to see 30 people in the chat room right now is very cool. So, and Snork in the chat room, by the way, mentions if you're using those services, you need to change your password 3 times because, and then he says, Heartbleed won't affect most users. So that's good news, I believe. And then Non012 says, I want pancakes for breakfast. And I'm also with you on that. Hey, anything you want to talk about? If you want to call and talk about Voodoo Donuts in the Bacon Maple Bar, by all means, man, that's cool. But we do have we've got about 15 minutes or so before the top of the hour, and at the top of the hour coming up, we are going to touch base with the Talk Radio News Service, get the latest on what's happening in the world from our good friends at the Talk Radio News Service, talkradionews.com. Until then, I want to share a couple of clips with you from this recent conversation that Chris Hedges had titled, Our Only Hope Comes Through Rebellion. And that's a pretty serious conversation because it's something that I believe in. It's something that we talk about on Filter Free Radio all the time. And if I could boil it down to a bumper sticker, it would be, when the people lead, the leaders will follow. And history shows us this. So, as much as working to elect the next Democratic president may feel and seem like activism, 4 years later down the road, once they've sold you out, once they've eradicated the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, once they're using illegal drone strikes to kill people and civilians, unarmed children and women at a wedding party, you start to feel a little sold out, you know what I'm saying? And then, of course, I was politically naive. I mean, I'm only 25, 26 years old. And, of course, I didn't arrive at these conclusions yesterday. This has been a long, slow process for me. You go back and listen to the very first episode of Filter Free Radio. It is totally Democrats are good, Republicans are bad. At the time, I was the producer for the Thom Hartmann program. Enough said, right? And you got to start somewhere, right? The political awareness and activism has to start somewhere. And one of the easiest places to start is right there. Democrats, Republicans, my team, your team. Which side you going to vote for? Who you in for? Obama, Romney. Who you in for? Pretty easy to get into that, right? I was for a couple of years. Hardcore, like big time. Like I was showing up at Tim Carpenter's Progressive Democrats of America functions, talking to John Nichols and And I love John Nichols, by the way. John Nichols is spot on. Dollarocracy is totally what we have. But for me, like I said, I was the producer for Tom Hartman, and over the period of 2 to 3 years, it's like Tom had on people like Chris Hedges once in a while. And I got exposed to that. And I was exposed to Cornel West. And I was exposed to Howard Zinn. And Noam Chomsky. And all of the above. And Amy Goodman. And it's kind of like, once you're exposed to that Chris Hedges or that Derek Jensen, it's like, how can you go back to Republicans are bad and Democrats are good? I can't. Like, it's pretty obvious to me what's going on. And I'm trying to get beyond the he said, she said, which is fun when you're in high school. But when you're a grown-up, like dealing in the real world with the real problems that are really going on, we really want to address the systemic issues, the causes of those problems. And I'm tired of dealing with the symptoms of those problems. Let's talk about the causes of those problems. And so this is why I gravitate towards Chris Hedges. And I gravitate towards, Cornel West and Noam Chomsky and everyone I mentioned. Because that's where I'm finding the most effective use of my time, what little time I can contribute to the struggle should be going towards. And we spent an hour on Monday evening talking about how our only hope is going to be coming through rebellion from here on out. And I'm not going to, grind this into you for more than 10 minutes. I'm sorry. Some people out there are like, oh, my God, I can't handle this. Ugh. And I'm like, can we just be serious about the conversation? Be serious about what's going on? Like, if we really cared about making real change, if we're really progressives here, how come we're not progressing forward? I mean, I have a lot of questions about these kinds of things. And it bothers me when the so-called progressive media is talking about the plane, all the time. Or, this Republican is really bad, and let's bring on the Republican and give him a platform on my show so that he can spout his talking points, and then I can debate him. Like, I'm tired of pushing back against the right, man. I'm so tired of it. We know that they are bought and paid shills. It's called propaganda. So let's push farther left. Let's push left. Let's be progressive. Let's progress. Know what I'm saying? Mike M in the chat room says, Jacob, here's the problem. What are they rebelling against? What are they doing that is wrong? What are we rebelling against? We need to be rebelling against the corporate state. The oncoming totalitarian-like state that we are becoming. This is what we need to be rebelling against. And Chris Hedges, I'm telling you, I don't have more than 5-10 minutes here to play a couple of clips. You need to go in and watch this whole, and it's only like half an hour long. It's only half an hour, 45 minutes long. Go watch this video. You just type in Chris Hedges, Our Only Hope Will Come Through Rebellion into YouTube. It's right there. There's also a link to it on our Facebook page. And I'm going to put up a link to it on our website as well. So, they're just... To quote Mario Savio, there just becomes a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part, you can't even passively take part, and at that point, our only option left is rebellion. We have to put our hands and our bodies upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and we have to make it stop. And we have to indicate to the people who own it, to the people who run it, that unless we are free, the machine will be prevented from working at all. And clearly, we are not free. The democracy is gone. If you want to talk about who we should vote for, as if at this point the political process and the democracy is like still effective, right? It isn't. I'm just saying. Oh my goodness, he just said voting doesn't matter. Voting does matter. That is the very bottom, basic beginner's level of activism. voting. That is the least you can do. And we can't even get 50% of the people to vote. Our only hope will come through rebellion. This is a fantastic conversation from Chris Hedges. I literally have 30 audio clips in front of me, and it's really hard to narrow down to what I think is the most important. But if I had to pick one, this would be the most important clip. And I know it's a long one, so bear with me here. But it is up to us to seize the moment. I play a clip from Cornel West at the beginning of every show we do. We live in revolutionary times, but the counter-revolution is winning. Time to show up and get active. Here's Chris Hedges, 1 minute and 30 seconds, on why it is up to us, why we have to be the change, why we are the ones we are waiting for. If we're going to sit back and wait for, the next great, person to come save us, it ain't going to happen. We got to save ourselves. So here you go. Here's Chris Hedges. This is a good one. Our only hope will come through rebellion.
It is up to us to seize this chance and dismantle the corporate state. This means removing from power those who have stolen our liberty and lied to us. It means refusing to naively trust in their cosmetic reforms. For reforms will never come for those who are complicit in crime. Reform will come and only come through the building of mass movements and alternative centers of power that can overthrow, let me repeat that word for Homeland Security, overthrow the corporate state. If we fail to sever these chains, we will become like many who did not rise up in time to save their civil society's human chattel. This means we too must defy the law and engage in civil disobedience. There is no other way for the truth to be told, and there is no other way for justice to be recovered. Do not be fooled by those in power. They will not save us. We can only save ourselves. We are the people we have been waiting for. We must find, like Snowden, the moral and physical courage to tear down the structures that enslave us. Appealing or trusting to these structures is a waste of time. And all those who insist that we be patient, that we trust the system to reform itself, offer an argument that is as cogent as the one made by the March Hare during the Mad Tea Party in Alice in Wonderland. Have some wine, the March Hare said in an encouraging tone. Alice looked all round the table, but there was nothing on it but tea. I don't see any wine, she remarked. There isn't any, said the March Hare. Thank you.
Now that's the end of the speech. I love, by the way, as soon as I start talking about and playing Chris Hedges, that 30% of the chat room leaves. Oh my goodness! I don't want to have to hear the truth. La 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 la. Vote, Democratic Party, go blue. La 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 la. I was featured in a recent article at the Independent Voters Network titled, "More Voters Are Turning to Independent Media They Can Trust" by a reporter named Logan Brown. And there is a link to that story on my website at filterfreeradio.com. And I spoke to Logan for 45 minutes. And I recorded the interview, and the interview's on the website. And the only quote that Logan used from my conversation in that article to quote me was words to the effect of, "We are trying to tell people things that they don't want to hear." And as much as I love cute puppies, I have one myself, and I will watch cute, fluffy puppy videos on YouTube all day long. If we're going to be serious about this, we need to be serious. So I just love that as soon as I start playing Chris Hedges, 30% of the chat room leaves. That's funny. But I'm going to keep going on, man. And if you're digging it, you got to check out my website. You got to check out my website, because this is what we do. This is what we talk about. And this is what I believe in. I really do. Two mentions from the chat room. And one is, oh my goodness, I forgot who said it. I got to scroll up here. Randy Lever says, when are our leaders, when our leaders are criminals, who is going to take us seriously? That's a good point. The legal system has deteriorated, and when the people lead, the leaders will follow. I have a clip to play to address that point, but there was another point that says, I think it was Mike M. that says, okay, so after we overthrow the corporate state, then what do? I would argue before we even overthrew the corporate state, we have to first create the logistics for which the alternative systems we want can exist. We have to actually get together and come up with what is the alternative to capitalism. It's called Mondragon in Spain, worker co-op, right? We have to first create the alternatives, create the logistics so those alternatives can exist, then overthrow the corporate state and transition everyone onto the alternatives that will work. Sustainable energy, solar, wind, wave, whatever. I mean, it's out there. And if there's a couple of things that I have learned from being on the inside of this monster, it is one, there is no incentive to do the right thing. There is no money to do the right thing. You just kind of have to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And there's a moral obligation to the future generations and those who have come before us to do the right thing. But there is no incentive to do the right thing. There's no money in doing the right thing, unfortunately. And if you can monetize doing the right thing, sign me up. I am there. Because I'm with you. I'm a hypocrite. I like money. I like things. Sure. Money isn't really a problem either. It's apolitical. It's what you do with it, right? So if there's anything I've learned from being on the inside of this machine, it's there's no incentive to do the right thing. All of the solutions to the problems already exist. It's nothing new. It's not rocket science. There's nothing new under the sun. We've been there before. It's nonviolent, successful social movements, people protesting in the streets. There you go. I want to play one more clip from Chris Hedges before we talk to Talk Radio News. And this is clip number 19 from Our Only Hope Will Come Through Rebellion. And clip is titled, Our Only Hope is Rebellion and Moral Courage. Right now, it takes moral courage for me to sit here and say this to you and speak this. And it takes you moral courage to stay here with me and listen. And like I said, 30% of you just dumped. So where is that moral courage we need to create the rebellion that we need for the solutions? Here is Chris Hedges.
Take to resist. How will we dismantle the power of the corporate state as long as it has a pervasive security and surveillance apparatus? Our only hope will come through rebellion, through building mass movements that threaten established centers of power. This rebellion will require from us not only physical courage, but finally moral courage. I spent 20 years as a war correspondent. I have seen physical courage, but this kind of courage is not the same as moral courage. Very few of even the bravest warriors have moral courage. For moral courage means to defy the crowd, to stand up as a solitary individual, to shun the intoxicating embrace of comradeship, and to be disobedient to authority, even at the risk of your life, for a higher principle. And with moral courage comes persecution.
Yep. And some of us are going to have to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail. More time than I want to commit to the cause. Some of us are going to have to die. I don't want to die. I'm a follower of Jesus. When he says, pick up your cross and follow me, you know what that really means? It means resist. Follow your morals. Stand up for what you believe in, even if it means you're going to die. I'm just saying. But do not let despair set in. We have to empower ourselves and remind ourselves that we, the people, have the power. When the people lead, the leaders will follow. When the people vote with their wallets, the corporate state will crumble. And I hope you vote, local independent mom and pop way. It is the top of the hour, and you're listening to the Nicole Sandler Show. We're live. It is April 9th, 2014. live at radioornot.com, SoFloRadio.com, TalkRadio1.com. We're also live on my website, FilterFreeRadio.com, and we are live on Liberal Justice Radio on the TuneIn app and TuneIn.com. I'm anticipating a phone call from Talk Radio News, TalkRadioNewsService.com right now. Hopefully they'll call in here and give us the report, though, as you may know, this was kind of a last-minute thing filling in for Nicole. So, but hey, look at that. Asking you shall receive. It is time for the Talk Radio News Service report, TalkRadioNews.com on the Nicole Sandler Show. See what's happening in the world and in our nation's capital in Washington, D.C.
I read the news today, oh boy.
And good morning. Who do we have on the line with us?
Hey, Jacob, it's Justin calling in today. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing well, man. Justin Duckham, senior Washington correspondent for Talk Radio News Service, TalkRadioNews.com. Always good to hear from you, man. What's in the news? What's happening?
Well, today the president is en route to Texas, where he is going to deliver remarks at Fort Hood for the memorial service for the 3 soldiers who were killed during last week's shooting.
Right.
According to the White House, the president is going to essentially focus his message on the families of those who were lost, as well as those who were lost themselves, but is not going to be talking about gun control, according to Jay Carney, despite the fact that, according to the White House spokesperson, the president still believes that Congress needs to take common-sense approaches to stop the issue, but that still does not seem to be politically feasible.
Yeah. You know, and that's one of those really important points that kind of gets lost in this conversation. So, how come he's not talking about gun control? How come he's not talking about legalized mass murder, war, and PTSD? And it's like, you know, there were people who lost their lives, and the families are grieving, and we need to respect that. So that is important. I'm with you. And
yeah, no, of course, and also there's the argument, of course, that you know, would this really help, especially considering that, you know, we've seen shootings wherein a congresswoman was shot in the, you know, head,
right,
and school children were murdered and stuff, and that didn't necessarily move it, so I don't think the political will is going to suddenly spring up over this,
right,
as tragic as it certainly is.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, unfortunately, so, yeah.
Yep. Moving beyond that, today in the Senate, we are going to see a vote on the Paycheck Fairness Act. This is a piece of legislation that would allow employees to file a civil suit against employers if they believe that they were discriminated against in terms of pay. And this also, you know, essentially grants people to discuss, you know, how much they're paid among each other at companies without having any negative reprisal. And it also creates a situation, you know, where I'm sorry, I blanked on the third aspect of that. But yeah, so that's going to be going up today in the Senate. It doesn't look like they have the 60 votes yet to override a Republican filibuster against this. But nevertheless, this is being put forward by Democrats as a key piece of legislation going into 2014 that is aimed at drawing a major comparison between the two parties.
Yeah, and yesterday was a National Gender Pay Equality Day or whatever, and so that's great to see that moving. And I like to mention a talking point I came up with when we're talking about pay, and this was in the conversation yesterday, that there is no, you know, capitalism law that says, you know, the corporate state has to pay you as, you know, minimum wage, as low of a wage as possible. There's no law in the corporate state that says that. They do that by choice. I just wanted to remind everyone that they do that by choice. But that's a totally different topic, man, and that's my opinion, not the news. So back to you, man.
There we go. No, that's a good point. And also, this is going to require companies to report to a federal commission their individual data for payment, as well as you know, how that relates to gender and racial issues. And this is coinciding, in fact, with 2 executive orders that the president issued yesterday for federal workers. Essentially, one granting those in the federal workforce to be able to discuss their pay without reprisal, and 2 mandating that federal contractors who work with the U.S. Submit their payment information to the federal government in order to confirm that they are not, being paid by U.S. dollars to promote gender discrimination in terms of payments. So, pretty interesting. Likely, not going to necessarily move anywhere considering it's dead on arrival in the House, but it is sort of a principled stand that Democrats are taking this time around.
Right. Right on. And, just another tool for we the people to use for our best interest. And hopefully, if someone out there has felt like, this applies to them, then you should check it out. So I think that's a good thing.
Yep. And finally, we have today a hearing going on with the Judiciary Committee on the Comcast and Time Warner merger. This, of course, is the, over the application that the cable providers made for the $45.2 billion merger that has proven to be pretty controversial and is moving forward with the FCC. The deal is going to be examined today with the executives from both committees making appearances and trying to argue with the new report that if this moves forward, consumers around the country are going to be able to stream higher quality videos and browse the web more quickly if regulators let this move forward. But nevertheless, this has proven to be pretty tricky when it comes to just basic concerns over monopoly and whatnot amongst more progressive elements of Congress.
I've got a good friend who's a reporter in Seattle, Mark Taylor Canfield, and he came out with a report last week about how the FCC has suppressed its own reports, its own FCC reports on corporate media consolidation. And it was a very interesting article. It's over at truthout.org if anyone's interested. But yeah, the merger and the consolidation of media is a very, very not good thing. Just ask Berlusconi but anyways, that's my opinion, not the news.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, Justin Duckham, the senior Washington, D.C. correspondent for the Talk Radio News Service, the website talkradionews.com. Brother, love you, miss you. Hope all is well, and we'll talk soon, man.
We all miss you over here in D.C. Thank you, Jacob.
All right, bud. We'll talk soon. Thank you. And there you go. The news, that's what's happening from the Talk Radio News Service, talkradionews.com. Folks should definitely check them out. You can follow them on Twitter, get all the news that I get. You can sign up for their email list. I'm on the Talk Radio News Service email list, and every day I get all the news headlines that they come out with right in my email. Like I just click on, and this is what's happening. Good to know. And you can sign up too. It's easy. It's free, I think. It's free. I don't pay. So anyways, talkradionewsservice.com. And I guess as a bit of disclaimer, they are good friends of mine. I used to work down the hall from them. And I love Justin. He's a good guy. And everyone there, Jeff and Justin and Victoria Jones and Ellen Ratner, of course, the one, the only Ellen. They're making it happen. And folks should check out Ellen's website if you want to make a difference for the people in South Sudan. I know I mention this every time I come on the show. I don't know how often you get to hear it. But Ellen Ratner does have a website where you can contribute to help the people in need in South Sudan. And the website is called goatsfortheoldgoat.com. And yeah, goat as in meh, goat. It's goatsfortheoldgoat.com. You should check it out. All right, let's go ahead and run to a short break. We'll get a quick coffee warm-up. We'll come back, and we're going to talk about the Progressive Radio Northwest Forum that happened in Seattle. We'll talk about the future of independent progressive media and what I think needs to happen. We'll share that next on the Nicole Sandler Show, radioornot.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The Nicole Sandler Show.
Hi, friends. This is Tom Hartman.
This is Stephanie Miller. Hey, this is Hal Sparks.
I'm Brad Friedman. I approve of Nicole Sandler's RadioOrNot.com.
Radio or Not.
Radio or Not.
RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com. RadioOrNot.com.
Hey friends, Jacob Dean here with exciting news. You can now hear my show, Filter Free Radio, on the free Stitcher mobile app. Just visit our website, filterfreeradio.com, scroll down on the left-hand side, and click on the Stitcher logo to hear us on Stitcher. That's all there is to it. No syncing, no taking up memory on your device. Just filter-free radio on demand for you on the go. Plus, you can rate and review Filter-Free Radio on Stitcher. The more you rate, review, and share us, the higher we will rank on Stitcher, and that means the more people will discover Filter-Free Radio. It's never been easier to enjoy Filter-Free Radio and help us spread the word. Visit our website, filterfreeradio.com, and click on the Stitcher logo to hear us on Stitcher. Unfiltered radical truth-telling, anytime, anywhere. Thanks, and keep up the good fight.
This is the Media Matters Minute. I'm Luke Brinker. On Fox's The Kelly File, Fox News senior judicial analyst Andrew Napolitano criticized the Supreme Court's decision not to hear an appeal from a New Mexico photography studio that was sued for discrimination after its owner refused to photograph a same-sex commitment ceremony.
But the compulsion to perform the service, compulsion by law, is what violates the ancient and natural and personal right to refuse to do business with whomever you don't want to do business with without having to justify it to the government. That is a right that is now gone. When the courts force you to perform a service that is not food, shelter, or clothing, they are really forcing you to engage in involuntary servitude.
This is a drastic shift from recent coverage. 2 months ago, as Arizona considered a bill that would have legalized anti-gay business discrimination, Kelly called the law potentially dangerous, while Napolitano called the law profoundly unconstitutional. For more on this and other stories, please visit MediaMatters.org.
Filter-Free Radio.
Filter-Free Radio.
Filter-Free Radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
Jacob Dean.
With Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
Talking about developing a new radical revolution of values. Talking about progressing forward. Talking about change. And if we're so subject to beholden to the status quo, we've prevented ourselves from progressing forward. It's like if Hillary Clinton is the Democratic Party, which she is, then it's time for us to abandon the Democratic Party.
Filter-Free Radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
1 + 1 is 11, people. Don't you? I thought that... Anyways.
FilterFreeRadio.com.
You never know who or what you'll hear when you listen to the Nicole Sandler Show at RadioOrNot.com.
Bill Maher, you're here in Miami on Friday night. You're doing a show at the Fillmore at the Jackie Gleason Theater. They just renamed this theater the Fillmore. And they put up a couple of psychedelic posters. So I guess...
Was it the theater Jackie did his TV show from?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
What I hear they did is put up 2 of those old Bill Graham posters and renamed it.
Yeah, I can't think of 2 different icons of show business.
Yeah, really.
Bill Graham and Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, why they just didn't play up the Jackie Gleason aspect, I don't know. But then again, this is South Florida.
Right. Okay.
Welcome to it.
I feel warm.
The Nicole Sandler Show, live Monday through Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, or podcast anytime at RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com and SoFloRadio.com present The Nicole Sandler Show. Truth to power, baby.
Welcome back to the Nicole Sandler Show. So good to have you with us on board, broadcasting live. It is April 9th, 2014. We are live at Nicole's website, RadioOrNot.com. And we're also live at SoFloRadio.com, TalkRadio1.com. We are live on our website, FilterFreeRadio.com, and thanks to a good friend of mine, Mr. Kenny Pick, whose show I was on last night, Turn Up the Night with Kenny Pick, website kennypick.com. We are live on Liberal Justice Radio this morning on the TuneIn app and tunein.com. However you are joining us, it is so good to be with you. It is an honor and a privilege to be in for Nicole. As you know, you may know from yesterday's show, Nicole announced that she had a little fender bender. I will mention that she's absolutely fine. She's okay. She's not hurt. No need to, you could send her a little email and say, are you okay? But she's fine. And, no one was hurt. The car is not doing so well. And this is why Nicole is off this morning. And it's always an honor and a privilege to be in for Nicole. I'm always happy to help. And we do our show, Filter Free Radio, on Nicole Sandler's network, RadioOrNot.com, live Monday evening, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We've been doing our show live for almost 3 years now. going all the way back to August of 2011. And for the first time in our history of Filter Free Radio, we have been picked up by an actual radio station. Believe it or not, Filter Free Radio is now on the radio. And I want to make a huge announcement for all of our friends on the Nicole Sandler show. And I'm just super excited. I got to toot my own horn once in a while. And I can't be more, grateful and thankful to our good friends at We Act Radio in Washington, D.C. You can now hear Filter Free Radio on the radio dial in Washington, D.C. Of all places, that's a great place to be on the radio. In the nation's capital, 1480 AM, WPWC. And Nicole was on We Act Radio for some time, I believe. But, the folks at We Act Radio are a nonprofit community radio station. And just like me, they don't have any money. So we don't get paid to be on their channel. They don't pay us. The good news is we don't have to pay them. Goes both ways. But, and Nicole is at a level far beyond mine. Nicole is a pro. And Nicole needs to be paid for what she's doing. And so I totally understand and I get that. For me, I'm still up and coming, still. Anybody want to air my show for free? Please. And so We Act Radio, 1480 AM, Washington, D.C. is doing it now. You can listen to Filter Free Radio Sundays, 12 noon Eastern, from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern on We Act Radio on Sundays. My show immediately follows Talking Left with Shano and Danielle on We Act Radio Sunday mornings. So if you listen to Shano and Danielle, just stay on We Act Radio and don't go anywhere as soon as their show's off, and Filter Free Radio comes up next. And if you're outside of the Washington, D.C. area, which I'm sure almost all of you are, you can still stream live We Act Radio at their website for free, weactradio.com. And I do not have a link to that up on our website yet. That's like my number one priority is to get We Act Radio up on our website. So that'll be there soon. That's my big announcement. Thank you all for the love. Abby, congrats. Thank you. We're super excited. I shouldn't say this on the air. Let me be very discreet about this. I got an email last night from another nonprofit community radio station, the president of that nonprofit community radio station, and who knows, we might be on 2 radio stations. I can only hope, right? So we'll see. And I'll keep you updated. So there is a lot of stuff going on. I do want to encourage you to participate in this show. I know we've only got about 40 minutes or so left. I do have a comment line, and if you want to call in, I'd love to take a phone call, 503-746-TALK, anything you want to talk about. That's all good. Anything goes. It's your open mic. I don't know how often you get a chance to be on Nicole's show. I know it's not with Nicole. It's like, who cares? It's not Nicole Sandler. At least it's still the Nicole Sandler show, right? 503-746-TALK, 503-746-TALK. I want to talk about the future of independent progressive media now, which is kind of an important topic for this independent progressive media outlet, right? And this is something that I have been involved with for some time. I was hired by Tom Hartman in 2009 when I was 20 years old, and I didn't know anything about politics. The only things that mattered to me was going bowling, girls, rock and roll, and hanging out. You know what I mean? And I get a job at Tom Hartman. Democrats are good, Republicans are bad. 2 years later, 3 years later, I'm doing my own show saying, why aren't we checking out Chris Hedges and the Occupy movement and Bill McKibben and 350.org protesting the Keystone XL pipeline and focusing on the activism. And I got to be, behind the scenes at something that was really big and really important. And I know sometimes it'll come off as I'm trying to bash, it might sound like I'm trying to bash Tom or that, and that is totally not where I'm going. Like, I love Tom Hartman and Louise and Sean and Jim and all those guys. They're very good people. The best boss I've ever had in my whole life. And they're very good people, and I love them. And I want to talk about what I believe is a key essential point to the future of progressive radio. You and I know that it's pretty clear that the corporate state is not going to sustain progressive radio. The corporate state is not going to sustain or promote anything that works against its own best interest, like progressive radio. This is why we've seen the Seattle station, KPTK, disappear. The station here in Portland, Oregon, KPOJ, gone. Thank goodness we have X-Ray FM. Green 960 in San Francisco, gone. And it's not a right-wing conspiracy theory. Bain Capital, Mitt Romney, financed Clear Channel. Clear Channel owned all three of those radio stations and axed them because there is no need for the corporate state to promote or sustain anything that works against its own best interest. How much longer will voices like Chris Hedges be allowed to speak? That's a good point. As long as we keep it on, man. And so I went up to Seattle on March 26th to speak with Mark Taylor Canfield and Space Dog of SpaceDogRadio.com to some disgruntled progressive listeners who are, quite frankly, upset that their progressive talk radio station in Seattle is gone. KPTK AM 1090 is gone. And it's a very important conversation. We're talking about a lot of things here. And I want to play for you a couple of audio clips, a couple of highlights and excerpts from this panel discussion that happened at Impact Hub in Seattle. And the entire 2-hour panel discussion, including all of the audience member questions, it was an open, free to the public event. So the public showed up. We had a conversation. We got questions from the public. We answered them. We had a good time. I had a great time. And I want to share a little bit of that with you. And it's very important to me to get everyone on the same page here. And I think it's important to hear what the listeners have to say. Because if it's not for you, there is no show. There is no Filter Free Radio without you. There is no Nicole Sandler show. There is no RadioOrNot.com without you. So I want to play this. This is a little bit longer clip, but this is an audience member question and then the three panelist response. And it was basically Mark Taylor Canfield's event, sort of, and Progressive Radio Northwest. Progressive Radio Northwest is the people who put it on. And their website is progressiveradionorthwest.org. Matter of fact, I got a couple of pictures that I can show you here. This, if you're watching us on the video stream, this is a photo of all of us at the event. From left to right, that is the moderator. Phil was the moderator of the event from Progressive Radio Northwest. The man in the hat and the suit and tie looking good, that's Mr. Mark Taylor Canfield, fearless independent journalist from Seattle. To his right is Space Dog of Space Dog Radio, SpaceDogRadio.com, which is a website you should check out. And I've just recently discovered great progressive news outlet, SpaceDogRadio.com. And then there's that hippy-dippy, tree-hugging liberal from Portland with his sweatshirt that says, "Good planets are hard to find," Mr. Jacob Dean there. So I was there. There's the picture, and there is a picture of us taking a question from the audience. And let me play this first clip I've got to share with you. This is a listener comment on the loss of KPTK in Seattle, KPOJ, Green 960. You'll hear Mark Taylor Canfield, Space Dog Radio, and then my response to this. Here we go.
Okay, I'm going to speak from the standpoint of a listener, all right? I have habits. I get in my car, I take Metro. It's time where my mind wanders. I don't like that. If I can turn on the radio and pick up Stephanie Miller and set the tone of my day with the what you call the Mogs or Mooks, that's something I look forward to. On my commute back home, I've turning into Norman Goldman, and I liked his particular format. It becomes a habit, but more than just a habit, it's also something that stirs me. It stimulates me to do action steps, to get involved with more progressive organizations, maybe in the city or involved nationally. So I guess that's what's upsetting to me is it was part of my habit. I would love to have that, be able to make that deliberate decision to, punch into my laptop, pull up, Tom Hartman or half a dozen other folks that have been, mentioned here tonight. But that's what I really miss. And is that lazy? I don't know. I just wish it was back. That's all.
Well, there's no reason that online websites can't do that. There's no reason why. I mean, basically, Radio or Not is like that. If you look at their schedule, you'll know. Or if you look at each program, it'll tell you what time it's going to be on. So you can, I suppose, if you're in your car, like Norman Goldman was saying, you plug in into your audio, into the speakers in your car, your audio device, and you enter. Okay, it's 3 o'clock, so Norman Goldman's on. So you type in normangoldman.com, goes to the site, you see the live stream link, and you hit it. Now you've got video if you want to look at it, but when you're driving, you can listen to it. What I do, and probably what other folks do, is I literally, I know these programs really well, like you all did. I still know what time they're live. So once I get the schedule in my head, then I know who I'm going to listen to at what time. And, maybe sometimes I'll skip and do something else, not that day. But that's what I do.
If you go online and just look up progressive radio stations, there's a great one in Chicago, a great one out of Phoenix, and they run the same thing, Ed Schultz, Stephanie Miller, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a really easy way to do it. You just take your smartphone, plug it in your car, and you can listen to it anytime. You don't have to worry about it. The trick is having a smartphone that can do that. I think a really good point here is it's going to take a paradigm shift with listeners to kind of take that extra step. Yes, you have to plug in your smartphone, and yes, you kind of have to know the website. But after that, it's going to be as easy as what you usually do now, is just turning the dial. So once listeners kind of get that change going, then they've got a whole new access to listenership, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would just add really quickly for time, ask yourself, why did KPTK and KPOJ and Green 960 disappear? It's very simple. Corporate media, mainstream media, commercial radio is not going to air or promote or sustain anything that would work against its own best interest, like progressive radio. And two, most potential advertisers or potential investors, especially corporate donors, Walmart, BP, GE, are not going to endorse something that is often critiquing themselves and powerful public figures and the corporate takeover of democracy. So the reality is terrestrial radio costs a lot of money, millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And, where's that money going to come from? So what is the alternative? You look at nonprofit community-based radio stations that are listener supported. You've got KEXP in Seattle. You've got the news station down in Portland is X-Ray FM, and they just said, "Hey, we want to do a progressive radio station on the air in Portland. Can you give us some money?" They got $100,000. You think $100,000 would be a lot of money to put together a radio station? Their signal is so weak, I'm telling you, that you can only pick it up in like maybe one or two neighborhoods in Portland. You go anywhere farther west than I-5 and 26, or you go farther north than 84, and you've lost the signal. And that's $100,000. So the reality is terrestrial radio is very expensive. And unless we've got a BP or Walmart to back us, which I doubt that's going to happen, we're going to really have to find that alternative.
Yeah, and I know it kind of sounds like I'm totally bashing X-Ray FM there a little bit, and that's totally not my point. Like, I would love for X-Ray FM here in Portland to have the strongest signal on the whole dial, and I would love for We Act Radio and all of the nonprofit community radio stations across the nation to be on a fair playing field with the 100 1,000-watt mega powerhouses of Clear Channel. There's nothing I would want more than X-Ray FM to totally bleed out and interfere in all, in the whole spectrum of the FM dial. They are so strong. But the reality is that's not the case. And my point, and hopefully I was able to make that point, is that it is up to us to go independent. There is not going to be a big corporate backer. Yeah, we can all sit here and beg George Soros to throw us a bone, but it's probably not going to happen. And therefore, we need to shift our focus. We have to have a paradigm shift. We have to start doing our own independent truth-telling media like Nicole Sandler does at radioornot.com. You have to start shutting out the poison of the networks and the cable news. Turn Fox News the fuck off. And same thing with MSNBC. And find independent, alternative, radical, truth-telling, progressive media online. It's here. We are here. We're doing it. This is something that you can trust. Are you tired of tuning into the news that you know isn't news? And it's just like it drives you nuts, right? How come no one's talking about what's really going on out there? Well, there is. You just have to transition yourselves from the traditional media outlets, which are clearly no longer working in the public good, to the new wave, the new age, the new online media outlets, radioornot.com, filterfreeradio.com, weactradio.com, xray.fm. Check them out. We are here, and it's going to take an extra step on the part of the listener. I know, no one likes to do anything. We're lazy. I'm just as lazy as you are. As soon as we get off the show, I'm like, yeah, we need to go out there and get active and be in the streets and protesting. And I go downstairs and I hop on the computer for 2 hours, or I go fishing, or I get it. I totally get it. I'm with you. I'm just trying to ask the right questions. I'm just trying to get a little, ruffle the feathers a little bit. Get folks to think about it a little bit. And I think, I think that's very important. So I tell you what, let's run to, I'm going to take another real short break. I want to get another coffee warm up. I don't think I need it, but I want a little bit more coffee. And then we'll come back, and I've got another clip to play from the Progressive Radio Northwest, another very important point about the future of independent progressive media that you should be finding and engaging and supporting, like the Nicole Sandler Show at radioornot.com.
It's Nicole Sandler on radioornot.com.
Hi, friends. This is Tom Hartman.
This is Stephanie Miller. Hey, this is Hal Sparks.
I'm Brad Friedman. I approve of Nicole Sandler's RadioOrNot.com.
Radio or Not. Radio or Not. RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com. RadioOrNot.com. RadioOrNot.com.
Filter Free Radio.
Filter Free Radio.
Filter Free Radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
Jacob Dean.
With Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
But I just don't subscribe to the common memes, and I don't subscribe to either political parties anymore because they don't represent us. They represent, their own interests, obviously, and furthering their own interests, and furthering the interest of wealthy financiers who obviously pay for them to get elected, and that's who they serve. So what do you do in this situation where obviously changing the players doesn't change the game? It's like you can vote, but don't spend more than 5 minutes on it. Then the time it takes to go to the polls and pull the lever and then move on, and then get back out in the streets and protest with your signs and raise awareness and educate people.
Filter Free Radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
And that comes from reading. I mean, really, you have to start reading alternative critical thinkers, the Noam Chomskys of the world, the late Howard Zinn, people who document these things. Activism is what brings about change, and change comes from physically being in the streets. The biggest lie is that I'm an internet activist. Well, there's no such thing. You're either an activist or you're not, but there is no internet activist. It's like, well, that means you don't get out of the house, which means you don't really accomplish anything. You're not organizing. You're not getting people together in the streets. You're not actually pushing for a real change that you want to see. You're just more talking about it online, which is the same as a conference call.
FilterFreeRadio.com.
Tune in to Liberal Justice Radio on the TuneIn app and TuneIn.com.
Hi, this is Kenny Pick, founder of Liberal Justice Radio, and I wanted to take a few minutes to let you know about our schedule here. First and foremost, on Mondays, you can check out Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott on Filter Free Radio, live every Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Turn Up the Night with Kenny Pick, live from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, the broadcast live from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays, we're off. Fridays, we're back with more Turn Up the Night from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And then on Saturdays, it's Mic Check Radio, live from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. So please enjoy our live shows and the recent rebroadcasts that we run 24/7. And find out how to get in touch with us. Let us know how you're listening to Liberal Justice Radio and what you think of the programming and what you'd like to hear more of.
Liberal Justice Radio on the TuneIn app and TuneIn.com. Hey friends, Jacob Dean here with exciting news. You can now hear my show, Filter Free Radio, on the free Stitcher mobile app. Just visit our website, filterfreeradio.com, scroll down on the left-hand side, and click on the Stitcher logo to hear us on Stitcher. That's all there is to it. No syncing, no taking up memory on your device. Just Filter Free Radio on demand for you on the go. Plus, you can rate and review Filter Free Radio on Stitcher. The more you rate, review, and share us, the higher we will rank on Stitcher, and that means the more people will discover Filter Free Radio. It's never been easier to enjoy Filter Free Radio and help us spread the word. Visit our website, filterfreeradio.com, and click on the Stitcher logo to hear us on Stitcher. Unfiltered radical truth-telling, anytime, anywhere. Thanks, and keep up the good fight.
You never know who or what you'll hear when you listen to The Nicole Sandler Show at RadioOrNot.com.
Your view is not being represented in this country because all of our views have been corrupted by money in politics. Remember, 94% of the time, the candidate who raises the most money wins.
That's the fact that we need to drive home constantly. It's all about the money. Dylan Radigan, you rock.
The Nicole Sandler Show, live Monday through Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, or podcast anytime at RadioOrNot.com.
And welcome back to the Nicole Sandler Show. We're broadcasting live. It is April 9th, 2014. RadioOrNot.com, SoFloRadio.com, TalkRadio1.com, FilterFreeRadio.com, Liberal Justice Radio on TuneIn app and TuneIn.com. However you're joining us, so good to be with you. Nicole, taking care of that little fender bender this morning. It's always an honor and privilege to be in for the one and only Nicole Sandler. You know, Nicole Sandler's in the top Frontier 50 of the 50 most important online independent progressive media outlets there are. And we're talking about this hour the future of these independent progressive media outlets. And we're really talking about transitioning ourselves from the traditional media outlets, the television, the newspaper, to the most important outlet for progressive media in today's world, and that is the internet. As long as the net neutrality thing. Oh, what about that? Yeah, there's that too, right? But at least we can do RadioOrNot.com and we can do FilterFreeRadio.com, right? And we were just talking in the chat room at RadioOrNot.com. Hey, guys, that this is a very important point that Abby in the chat room, brings up. And, with the clip of the listener that I played mentioned, listeners have habits. We all have habits, and I get that. Some of us want to wake up, drink a cup of coffee, and read the newspaper, like the physical newspaper. I mean, that is part of our routine. And I get that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you keep going back to the old traditional media outlets and you keep saying, this isn't news anymore, then it's time to begin to transition yourself. And a point that I made Mark Taylor Canfield made during our forum was that, Edward R. Murrow didn't have to teach you how to read the newspaper. You already knew how to read the newspaper. Hopefully you knew how to read between the lines too. But in today's world, those of us who know how to get onto RadioOrNot.com and watch the show need to kind of teach others who don't know how to do that. And there's a learning curve. And those of us who are farther ahead in the learning curve, I believe, have a responsibility to help our brothers and sisters who aren't as far along as we are and who need us. And who are in desperate need of what we're doing right here, right now. And they're like, well, I can't find it anywhere. They took off my radio station. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And that was kind of the premise of this forum. It was, hanging out with people who were, older, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're saying, well, I just turn on the radio and expect to hear Tom Hartman. He's not there anymore, and I don't know what to do. Well, you could go on his website and watch his show live on his website for free. Well, I don't know what a computer is. I don't know what the internet is. Okay. Well, we have to start somewhere. Got to start somewhere. So let's help them out. Let's make that difference. And you can mark my words, coming up in the future, there will be, Filter Free Radio episode special, how to do your own independent progressive media. I'm literally going to walk you through step by step, pragmatically, step by step, how you actually do exactly what I'm doing right now. From the microphone and the audio board to the computer to the Ustream or the live stream. I mean, we need to teach our brothers and sisters how to get up to date with independent progressive media. Because I think we all can agree on that it's not going to be on commercial radio very much longer. Okay? You're not going to get the real news on corporate TV anymore, okay? So how do we transition ourselves and teach ourselves to transition to the new independent outlets that we can trust? It starts with those of us who know what we're doing, help out those of us who don't know what they're doing. And I'm preaching to the choir right now, hopefully. And, I mean, we're here, right? So I am preaching to the choir. And I'm not really not preaching, like I'm not into that, but... anyway, so I really wanted to share that with you. And we just take so many things for granted. We just take everything for granted. And it's like I go up to this forum and I'm like, yeah, radioornot.com, filterfreeradio.com, xray.fm, weactradio.com, and they're like, what's a computer? Not like, what's a computer? That's mean. That's not nice. But they're like, I don't know how to get on the internet, And so I'm limited. And we got to reach out. It's up to us to reach out, because there is a demand for what we're doing. There is a demand for the Nicole Sandler show, for sure. And it's out there. And I've been talking to the people. I've been talking to them, showing up in the streets. I showed up at this thing called the Million Blanket March last weekend here in Portland. There's videos all over the front page of my website. It's essentially the Anonymous, the people with the Guy Fawkes masks. Anonymous Portland held an event where they took donations of blankets and clothing and redistributed those donations for free to the homeless and those in need in downtown Portland. And, these guys are doing a lot of hard work. They're really smart people, and they're getting absolutely, completely ignored by all media. Even so-called independent progressive media outlets. No, we can't cover the anonymous people. They have masks and they're scary. And one of them broke a window once. So I showed up and I was like, hey, what's going on here? Talk to them. And they're like, oh my goodness, you're actually from the media and you actually want to cover this because it's actually like doing the right thing? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, we need, oh my goodness. And now I've got a whole new group of friends who are going to email me and keep me up to date, and we'll have them on and promote their actions that they're doing. And they're like, there is a demand for what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, I know. We're trying to do it. I know. So, okay. I want to share another clip with you from this forum, which was put on again by our folks at Progressive Radio Northwest. ProgressiveRadioNorthwest.org is the website. And you see on the video, I'm showing you a picture there of the moderator, Phil, and the panelists, Mark Taylor Canfield, Space Dog of Space Dog Radio, and myself, Jacob Dean, filterfreeradio.com. And here is another listener comment, another listener question. And, of course, I have to share this clip with you because it was a perfect segue for my talking points of show up, get active, protest, nonviolence. And so I want to share this clip with you, and then we'll have a few minutes to take calls and kind of wrap up this episode. But here is another listener audience member question from the ProgressiveRadioNorthwest.org forum in Seattle on March 26th, talking about the future of progressive media, the future of independent media, and what are we going to do?
Well, of course, my point is that right now, I don't know how long any of us have available to wait. You know, I mean, the ship is hitting the sand. The reef is out there, in my opinion, whether it's climate change or any one of 100 other things. And the question is, in my mind, do we have the luxury of waiting for technology to catch up to people who at this point have spent the last 10, 15 years brainwashed by Hannity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? How do we get how do we get reality into the Fox household? Into the household where if you happen to live, whether it's Moses Lake here in Washington or Walla Walla or any one of 100 other communities east of the mountains, or for that matter somewhere in between Olympia and Vancouver, how do you get those people an option, an ability to not spend 5 hours a day trying to find something, but something they can quickly and easily get to, real information that, in fact, will change worldviews?
That is also an amazing point. You were right. I applaud you. Because what you're talking about is an issue we hadn't really covered, which is, yes, how do you reach people who could really be affected by this information who have never heard it before? You guys have any comment on that?
I would say, it's a tragedy that the people who most need to hear this message are the people that don't hear it at all, right? That's the problem. And I think this is where that grassroots activism, actually showing up, being in the streets, demonstrating nonviolently, protesting, putting a physical location and a physical actual demonstration into motion so people can see that. Bring it to their doorsteps. I mean, be respectful, be professional, be nonviolent, but show up and get active and get in the streets. I mean, that's my solution.
Yep, that is my solution. And here we have this listener literally saying, how come I can't access you guys? Like, I'm part of the learning curve. How do we get from the bottom of the learning curve to the top of the learning curve? And it literally just takes someone to say, you should check out radioornot.com. There's a great show there. There's several great programs on the radioornot.com network. You should check out Liberal Justice Radio. A lot of great programs there. Filter-free radio. But, it's got to start somewhere. And so I used the forum to really try to stress my points of we've got to transition to the independent media outlets that we can trust. It's time to shut out the poison. Turn off ABC and CBS and NBC. I mean, I don't have cable. I've never had cable in my whole life. No cable, no satellite, no nothing. I have free broadcast television. And the only thing that's halfway worth watching that's left on free broadcast television is public broadcasting. And you see the corporate takeover of PBS and NPR, and we're watching that in front of our eyes. So, and it's like, well, PBS is the only alternative we have left. And that is being co-opted and corrupted right before our eyes. So what do we do? Well, like I said, the solutions are out there. We are here. We are doing this. We are making it happen. We are fed up with the status quo. We're talking about how we're going to change the status quo. We're trying to mobilize the people to get active and be that change. We are the ones we are waiting for. And if we can reach just one person and make a difference in their life, then that is a lifetime of difference. And that's what I'm trying to do. I don't get paid to be here. I'm doing it for free out of a moral obligation. And this is why you should seek out non-profit media outlets, because chances are they're probably doing the right thing if they're doing it not to make money, but out of a moral obligation. And, Nicole Sandler, radioornot.com, Amy Goodman, democracynow.org kind of thing. Check it out. And there is great progressive media in still the traditional media outlets of, corporate commercial radio and television, the Tom Hartmans of the world, Stephanie Miller and Ed Schultz and all the above, right? But if you listen to those programs and then you go listen to an episode of Filter Free Radio, you see and we're both progressive liberals, right? And it's just a different kind of tone, you know what I mean? A different kind of conversation, a different kind of focus. And that's because if you are in the establishment and you are getting paid, you have to say certain things. You have to toe certain lines. You have to please the advertisers and the investors, or else they don't advertise and invest in your show. So, what do? Do you go nonprofit and try to sustain yourself from listener support? I think so. I think that's the way to do it. I think that is the future of independent progressive media. I think that is the future. I mean, here we are. And the beauty is anyone can do this. I'm sitting in my bedroom. My bed is right there, which you can't see because I've got my little webcam cropped just perfectly. My bed is right there. I'm in my bedroom. The probably the most expensive thing I have in this whole room is this microphone, and I didn't pay full price for it. I found it on eBay. But anyone can do this. Anyone can be the media. The most important tool that we have at our disposal right now is this thing, this smartphone. And I'll tell you, I am not someone who would get a smartphone. I have resisted getting a GPS NSA personal tracking device for a very long time. I finally broke down this last Christmas and got myself one of these. First of all, because, I signed up in a contract with a company who I shouldn't to get a subsidy for this phone because I cannot afford it. So that's the downside of if you sign the contract, we'll give you a subsidy so you can get one of these. I did it. I know. Bad Jacob. Hypocrite. But I don't know how I can communicate to you how non-Jacob Dean a smartphone is. You probably think I'm super tech savvy and all this shit. My bliss is in the woods with the bears and the fish, off the grid, Derek Jensen style. That is me. Really, seriously, that is my bliss. As soon as we get off the air today, I'm going to go fishing. I should be looking for a job, but I'm going to go fishing. And I'm just not someone who has, who should... this thing is so complicated, right? It's so overwhelming. I barely have tapped into the potential of this thing. But let me tell you why I actually broke down and got a smartphone. And it's not probably what you think. The reason I have a smartphone now is because I can be the media anytime, anywhere, no matter what, with this one single tool. If I show up at the protest, I used to have to take my camera to take pictures. I used to have to take my audio recorder to record good audio, high-quality audio. And I used to have to take a handheld video recorder to take high-quality video. This thing does all of it. It takes high-definition pictures, high-definition audio, high-definition video, and then I can literally turn around and tweet out the content, put it on our Facebook, put it on our website, literally all from one device, as long as I have internet access. That is why I got a smartphone. And of course I know about the NSA and the GPS tracking devices. Of course I know this. But the ability for me to be able to share real independent journalism with you, with this device, was more important to me than being tracked by the NSA, and this is why I got one. And this is why when I show up at the protest, I use this. And, it's kind of a bittersweet thing because the sweet part is anyone can be the media. All you need is something with a microphone or something with a camera and internet access. That's all you need. And anyone can be the media because we have to start showing up and being the change. I did not drop my old phone in the toilet. Matter of fact, if anyone knows about my old phone, you know that my old phone was thrown out of a third-story window live on the air, and I still used my old phone for 3 years following that incident, and I still have my old phone downstairs, and it works just fine. And I could use that phone in a heartbeat to make phone calls. No problem. But it can't take video, and it can't take audio, and it can't take pictures. As high quality, I mean, this thing takes better. This cell phone right here takes better pictures than the $200 camera I bought 2 years ago. And so the bittersweet thing is that anyone can be the media. That's the sweet part about it. And we have to start showing up, and we have to start doing independent journalism, despite the crackdown on it, because if we want the real news to get out, you're going to have to do it. If you show up at the protest, at the demonstration, and you want some sort of media coverage of that event, you're going to have to do it. If you want some sort of documentation, a video of the protest, of the Occupy movement, or whatever that you showed up, brother, I'm telling you right now, it's going to have to come from you. Because the corporate network ain't going to show up. Why would the corporate state sustain and promote anything that's working against its own best interest? So, I was saying that it's a bittersweet thing. The bitter part about anyone can be the media is there's so many people out there doing independent, progressive work, alternative work on their own website that we haven't even heard of them. Like, how did you find the Nicole Sandler show at radioornot.com? How did you just happen to come across it? Like, I'm sure you all have a story of how you first found this show. And it wasn't because, it was advertised on the TV in front of you, right? And I mean, the third panelist, besides Mark Taylor Canfield, who I've known and followed his work for several years up at Occupy Seattle, I had never heard of Space Dog and Space Dog Radio. SpaceDogRadio.com is his website before this panel discussion. And he's doing fantastic independent online short form news on his website at SpaceDogRadio.com. Come to find out, we talked a little bit at the panel before the discussion. Come to find out, honest to God, true story, Space Dog went to the same exact high school that I went to here in Portland. Not only did we go to the same high school, we had the same exact radio broadcasting program that we went through, and we had the same exact teacher in that radio broadcasting program, the same radio mentor, if you will. We were just a few years apart, right? Yeah, a couple years apart. And I'd never heard of the guy, right? I check out his website. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is freaking awesome. Like, one of the things on my to-do list is to go find SpaceDogRadio.com's logo and put up a link to him at FilterFreeRadio.com. And actually, this afternoon, if all goes well, I'm going to go meet Space Dog again and have lunch and have a beer and shoot the shit and talk and form those connections. Because it's not just going to out of thin air. I have to show up and make it happen. You have to show up and make it happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we can sit back and be like, oh, I wish Air America was back. I wish Air America was around. Or we could go out and take that initiative, take that extra step, and find those independent progressive media outlets that are telling the truth that we can trust. And you're at one right now. But some of your friends might not know about it. Some of your friends might not even know how to get to it. And they might be in desperate need of it. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So, on that note, it's been an interesting show. I've had fun today. Actually, more fun than I normally have. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to get up this morning. I was talking to Skeptical Scott last night. Are we going to do a show in the morning? Yeah. Nicole asked us to be there, and I'm going to be there. I told her I would be. And he's like, well, I don't know, man. I feel like sleeping in, And you know how Scott is, right? Oh, he kind of, want. And I'm like, dude, if you want to sleep in, it's all good, man. I would be sleeping in. Well, where's Scott at? Just saying. All right. on that note, it is totally, we're out of time. And so I've had so much fun. I hope you had some fun. I hope we were able to communicate and to connect there. And if I made a difference in your life today, tell me about it, man. I want you to be empowered, and I want you to empower me, and we have to start somewhere. So it is an honor. It is a privilege, as always, to be in for the one and only Nicole Sandler at radioornot.com. Thank you so much for being with me. Thanks to everyone who makes the show possible. Nicole Sandler, all the folks at SoFloRadio.com, all the folks at TalkRadio1.com for syndicating the program. Thank you so much. Thanks to my super duper awesome master producer and co-host, brother from another mother who wasn't here, Skeptical Scott. I love you, man. Nicole Sandler for syndicating us on radioornot.com. Thanks to Kenny Pick for syndicating us on Liberal Justice Radio. Thanks to Kevin McLeod of Incompetech.com and Dano of DanoSongs.com for music production. And thanks to you, the listeners, the friends, for liking the show and spreading the word and helping us grow. Send Nicole Sandler whatever support you can. Thanks to all the people in the chat room. I love the conversation. I love you guys. Thank you. And remember, if you want to contribute to the solutions, we have to show up. We have to get active. We have to participate. We have to be the change and make a difference. So show up. I'm with you. Let's make it happen. Much love, y'all. Until next time, filterfreeradio.com.
Filter Free Radio.
There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. So give me something to believe, 'cause I am living just to believe, and I need something more to keep on breathing for. So give me something to believe.
The revolution will be broadcast
Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Filter Free Radio.